nothingness. The 7-year process to birthing self as life. We have reached the stage where we now can establish a physical process, a benchmark, a process of equality in the how to effectively, as the human race, one by one individually, prepare ourselves and take ourselves to the point where we can start the journey to life. To get to the point will take a minimum of 7 years of daily application. This daily application must be in writing as a physical process of taking responsibility and making a commitment to establish oneself as life when the time arrives, when you reach nothingness. Within this process, one use self-forgiveness in the written word as the statement of taking self-responsibility, giving yourself back your integrity, your respect, giving yourself back your authority, giving yourself back your life, in essence. That one then support with statements of correction, which are statements of commitment, where you apply self-honest solutions to the particular patterns you have found that is in fact determining the choices you're making and causing the world to be what it is right now. In your self-forgiveness, it is imperative not to do self-forgiveness from the perspective of other people, but to do the self-forgiveness from the perspective of the patterns you allow and accept in all the facets that it exists in this world. You first of all do self-forgiveness on the patterns that you have become, the patterns that you directly participate in, the patterns that has formed you, the patterns which you trusted, the patterns that has caused the decisions you've made in your life, the patterns that has taken you to mistakes, the patterns that has taken you to guilt, the patterns that you have accepted as love, the patterns you have accepted as positive or negative. Every single pattern you take on a journey of 7 years. Every single day you publish a blog if you are ready to do this. Many has been prepared for this effectively, and they will stand as examples. So if you are not yet ready to effectively write the blog daily, then you first read the blogs of those that has prepared themselves to stand as the examples. You read those blogs aloud to develop an understanding of why a specific method of writing is used, why specific word construction is used, sentence construction, and you do it aloud to see how effective it works when you commit yourself to actual inner change. The change first being the deletion of what is here, to stop the old world, to stop what has been allowed, because first the old world, the old heaven must pass away before a new can be established. And so we all walk as one to nothingness, to the point where the old no longer exists, while we make a commitment to what we will establish once we reach nothingness as the living word, as life here in the flesh. We will establish life that is best for all, life as a participant to this life. First, we look at the patterns that we have participated in that has caused the world to look the way it is. And in that process, we use self-forgiveness as the statement of taking responsibility for what has been allowed and what has been accepted. The estimated time for the initial process in establishing and reaching all of humanity to the point where we eventually will reach a state of nothingness from which we can create a new world and eventually a new heaven will take 3 phases of 7, which is approximately 21 years, with the re-establishment of a new world as life will take an extra 7 years. So we are looking at 28 years of commitment to establish a world that is best for all. Within that, it is necessary to place a system in play that will give each one the opportunity, the ability to actually take part in the process of physical self-correction, the process of physical self-responsibility, and in giving that we have to establish a system that allows each one the ability to do it, which is why we have proposed an equal money system, because it is quick, it is easy to establish a system that will allow each one the mercy of actually having the opportunity to establish themselves as life. That process, though, will take at least another 10 years as we are more walking to bring all self-interest to book, so that one can understand that unless you do a system that will have an outcome eventually of the total change of the human to life, you'll not be able to actually change the world at all. So politically speaking, and in any other way speaking, economically speaking, the only way a world can actually change is if it changes in the very nature of the human. And this changing human nature will be a process of physical taking responsibility, of physical self-forgiveness, of physical standing here, and those that are ready will take the point of showing the process of doing this, and they have already proven it to themselves. Therefore, they are the evidence that this in fact works. Within that, each one that realize the common sense that we are presenting as the destiny of the universe and how we change the universe will be able to face their self-interest and direct themselves to become the neighbor they should be. They will, through that giving themselves an opportunity, be able to receive life eventually. The principle is very simple. You can only be equal as life if you are able to create life from nothing. Within that creation, you are in fact becoming equal as creator, and therefore you'll become the image and likeness of the creator. Currently, everything you are is simply flowing from something that is already created. Therefore, you are not in fact a creator. You are just taking things that's already here and you're making things out of it. That is not creation. You have been given an opportunity as yourself. The human physical body is in fact a universe. As yourself, as the universe you are, you have been given everything necessary to be able to actually understand creation in its totality, and thus to recreate yourself from nothing into life. But first you have to take responsibility and forgive yourself for that which you have already created in your ignorance, acceptance and allowance, and in many cases deliberate or in spitefulness. So we invite you to join this journey. It is inevitable that you must. There is no other way. We have tested this, and you can investigate the portal. We have tested this in every way conceivable to confirm the most effective way to bring and assist all in a process to a point where life itself will be created as ourselves, and where we will have in fact be able to establish equality in every way as life, as what is best for all. Initially no equality exists, except that there is equality as the process we walk, because that is how we establish integrity and trust, and that is how we establish the realization that we have as one created what we have here on earth right now, and therefore as one we must create that which is best for all life in every way. So there will be people that will write their processes, and it will be blocks, for instance, that will say John's journey to life, day 1, day 2. For every day there will be a block. That block will be specifically on a point or pattern that the person did self-forgiveness on in that day, and from the self-forgiveness will flow the corrective statements, which will be the commitments to life in terms of how one commit yourself to change as you understand it to that which is best for all life. If you are not initially clear on how to do this effectively so that it all can work and stand as one together, as equals within a process to establish a foundation to the point where we are able to actually stop our current creation and reach the state of nothingness. Some will call it 0 point, some will call it the eye of the needle. It doesn't matter. It is in fact a state of stopping and a state of nothingness. From that nothingness we will then start the journey of creating life from the physical as the living word. All of this has been known but never been practically applied in a way that constructively and definitively will bring about a new world. From the new world we will create a new heaven. Currently everything that you perceive, if you really investigate it, you will find is a lie, and you have to stop the lie through taking self-responsibility for allowing it, and you do that through self-forgiveness. And thus, in reading these blogs, you'll be able to establish within yourself the starting point eventually. And you read them aloud so you can hear the words, and you can take part in the words, and it can become part of your living flesh, so that you can establish the responsibility, so you can establish within you the common sense of this message. So you read it until you're ready, and then you start your journey to write. And one will not necessarily be able to initially write every day. Every day you're able to write will be the next day. Day 1, day 2, until you have written for 7 years. And there is enough time within the current system to be able to establish the foundation from which life as ourselves, as equals, together as one, can be created and established here. It is important to realize that the responsibility is to take care, to take responsibility, to stand as that which you are able, which is this physical world where you are breathing, and to learn to breathe as life, step by step, establishing yourself as that participant in relationships that make sure that all relationships always have the outcome that is best for all life. That is what you would wish for any one of your own children. You must wish it upon your neighbor, and you must give it to yourself and give it to each other. There is no other way, because currently we have not a system that is one of giving. We have a system that is one of taking. And as you give, you will receive. So we reverse what we do from taking to giving. the obvious message that's been around for thousands of years and that has never been taken to practical actualization. With Desteni, the process is an actualization. You'll find many that are not ready will react. They are reacting out of their ignorance and their anger and their fear. Anger is always fear, because they fear to lose what they believe they have, but they don't yet admit that they have taken it from someone else. They have taken it from somewhere else. They have not, in fact, given what they have to everyone equally. Life is that which in fact is fulfilling in itself, and that is equal in all form. Therefore, the process you will find is not only about the human, it will be about every being in the universe. And that has been walked for many years already in terms of the universal. Now it is the physical, practical earth process. Join us if you are ready. Investigate. There is on the Equal Money site now the first point of establishing an voting system for what would be the public policy of such a system. You can go and vote there. You can go and add how you see it. You can go and see if you would agree with a world that is established on principles of that which is best for all, so that it can allow you to live in peace and without fear. It will allow you to live in trust. It will allow you to actually enjoy yourself on earth and not be a slave to your own fear. Because the current system is a system of fear, and the participants are only participating in it out of fear. That is unnecessary. There is another way. We are here to invite you to join the way that will establish for all living beings an outcome that is best. And remember, when all living beings is in a world that is best for all, it includes you. You have to, though, make the decision to include yourself so that you are able to give to others what you would like to receive. Simple practicality. Important for those in different languages is that your preferred language for writing your daily self-forgiveness blogs would be in your native language, so that you may establish an example physically, practically, on how each one in this world can actually establish a world that is best for all. It costs no money, it costs only your effort, it only costs you giving up the fear, the evil, the allowances, the abuse that you have allowed in this world, and establishing and giving to each other life itself. It takes time, because the physical body, in terms of how it processes information, is cellular, and these cells over time replace themselves. As you do your self-forgiveness and you make your commitments to life, you're doing it during the time of the cellular replacements, and it changes the memory construct, the matrix, so to speak, from which you are moving. Obviously, you will move faster if you also read the blogs of others aloud. You will find that it is not about writing the same things. It's about you clearing up that part of life that you are responsible for. And you are responsible for your participation within every breath. So you are only responsible breath by breath. And according to that, you are capable and able, in fact, physically, practically, to take responsibility for the part that you are representing here as breath in this world, and to re-establish it and commit yourself that breath by breath for eternity, life will exist as the living word. You will grant it to yourself, gift it to yourself, and you at the same time will gift it to your children and gift it to your neighbors, and in such there will be the brotherhood of man and woman on earth, which will include also all other living beings. We will obviously establish through this eventually a world we cannot in completeness yet conceive, because our starting point will be that of life, while during the process our process will be one of equality, in where we are equally committing ourselves to the point where we will establish the nothingness, the end, the stop of this world. And the end of this world will have no fear. Nothing will actually break down. Everything that is here in structure will remain. We will change, and thus doomsday, Armageddon, and all of those things will be unnecessary. Obvious. Simplicity, direct. All it requires is your realization of the obviousness of such a simple, effective solution, to participate and walk and give up your fear. Give up the illusion that you've bought into. Inevitably, you'll be surprised to see how many of the things you now fear and judge, in fact, has great benefit for all once it is redesigned in a way that is best for all life. So we invite you, stop. There is much available to support you. For those of you that are able, like in the establishment of anything that is a system, anything that one would say is the commitment to that which is best from your perspective, is to redesign that to that which is best for all, including every living being. You can obviously support the process. You can go to the various sites. There is training available. There are body systems available. There is obviously much material available. The basic process of self-forgiveness, that's free. There is also that which is necessary to be taken care of as the people in the background that facilitate the process. For that you can go to equaf.com and purchase some of the literature in terms of this that will give one background in how did we get here, where we are now, how did we create all of this. There is really challenging stuff, much of it. Investigate it. Give yourself the opportunity to in fact conceive that it is possible to create a new world without destroying what we already have created. There are those things that obviously do not serve what is best for all life, which we will put back in the melting pot of fire, and we will redesign to forms that actually support life. It is critical that we change what we have become, because our resources that is not renewable is busy running out. If we do not make this change, the outcome for future generations will be catastrophic. That is common sense. It's not fear. It is obvious common sense. We cannot continue in the way of self-interest that we have done so far. This way simply do not serve any of us. It only causes conflict and war, poverty, suffering in grand scale, and it is getting worse. It's not going to improve. The capacity of the human as it exists now to move in self-interest has isolated each point to such an extent that unless one let go of your acceptances and get to a point of nothingness where you are able to stop your fear, able to stop what you've allowed, you'll continue to create more and more strife and discord, and we will have situations in the world continuing to become daily more destructive and catastrophic. Stop. The simplicity of the process is that within that which you are doing, if you are part of those fortunate enough to have a life on earth currently, there is enough time to participate in the process of self-forgiveness daily. But it is important to realize that we will have to gift to every being that do not have access to this also the opportunity to walk this. That is what you would have expected for yourself if you were in a position of absolute poverty. It is important that we establish a new vocabulary, a vocabulary as living words, worth living as life, within which the establishments of these words will have the result that always equally support life in every way. Join us, investigate. This is your call to life. In investigating destiny, you will see the simplicity, the practicality, the obviousness of the solution. Make sure your ego, self-interest, and what you think you know do not stand in the way. Knowledge is useless if it is not producing a world that is best for all. So to claim that you have some sacred knowledge, please stop. Investigate if that is practically, breath by breath, able to create a world that is best for all life. The destiny message is that, the practical solution for this world with simple common sense. Understand that not everyone will immediately embrace the message. The fear is such that there has been created so many versions through which one hide from it, from consumerism to religion to education. Every possible way conceivable has been created, either to hide from fear or to create fear. We have to stop this. And we can only do that, each one, and then stand together as one group, the group of life. Take this opportunity. Join us. You'll be astounded at how much you have missed about the reality and how little you really actually understood. The evidence of the absolute self-deception of the human, of civilization, is the state of this world, where 2/3 of the world's population do not have flushing toilets. 2.7 billion people on earth, 40% of the population, do not have minimal access to sanitation or water. That means they don't have effective access to anything that you have that is currently listening to this interview. And that you are in fact part of the cause of why this is happening. The fact that you are not even aware of this should be of great concern. Where are you? On earth or not? This is but one small example of the problem. What is caused by this lack of sanitation is early death and disease. Currently, due to a consumerism system, these poor people that cannot help themselves because they do not have the power of the system, which is money, are given medicine and vaccines instead of sanitation and water. Because medicines and vaccines one can make profit from. Water and sanitation will cause less disease. We have a massive job ahead. Have no illusions. This will take the effort of everyone in the world. to bring about a world that is best for all life. It will change our cultures. It'll change the way we live. But it'll also change the way we communicate. It'll change the way we respect each other. It'll change the way we appreciate each other. It'll give each other the opportunity to in fact experience the joy of living equally for all. You cannot expect to leave this world at death and have an excuse as to why you allowed this. You are directly responsible. The only way you can face your maker, the universe, that dust to dust you came from, is to show that in every way you have granted each one life as you wanted it. You have given as you would like to receive. If you can't show that, there must be a consequence that awaits you. You know this. It's not about fearing it. It's about the realization that there is an expiry date on your life, on this opportunity. And you can't wait to the last moment, because the correction will take physical breath, physical time, physical labor, physical commitment, and actual doing. And it will take not one person, not a single being can make a difference, but everyone working together will change it. Any message that places this responsibility on one person is an obvious lie, because it is just used as an excuse to allow the abuse in this world. Every time you flush your toilet, remember, what you have not given equally to everyone. What you have caused many not to have. That is a system of taking. That is a system of abuse. That is a system of self-interest. That is a system of ego. No matter what you believe as your spirituality, you are in fact only causing the problems. There cannot be a greater life after this one, because this one is creating the next. You cannot be that stupid to believe that from here will flow something better. You move from here to face consequence. So from here at death, things gets worse, much worse, because you have to face what you have allowed. We suggest you do it, face it right here. You die, in fact, alive in the physical through self-forgiveness, taking yourself to nothingness, where you stop what you have allowed, where you then emerge like you did as a child from the womb, from this darkness, this nothingness. And it's not to fear, because you did come from it. And you enter a world where you create a new system. What you would have done is what you've been taught, which you know is not supportive. What you've been taught through the generations of sin is then re-established by your own direct responsibility to create a new world, that which is best in every way. But first we have to stop training our children to become like us, repeating the same mistakes over and over and over again. We keep on doing it in spite of the warnings that was placed over thousands of years, that the sins of the fathers will be visited upon the children. We are the fathers that visited upon our children. We can't stand apart from what it is we are truly actually allowing. All the answers is in fact available here, but no practical solution has ever been taken into action. We have for years already been placing practical solutions into being with people from around the world, walking it, proven that it in fact works. They will walk a longer process because they have to prepare themselves to stand as examples. And the time has arrived where we now will walk the physical phase of this process. One of great simplicity, one of taking responsibility, one of stopping that which we have been allowing and what we have visited upon our children. One that takes us to a point of absolute rebirth, that the darkness, the womb, the nothingness from which we emerged as children. We rebirth ourselves by returning to the womb, by returning to nothingness, and from there we then emerge within the commitments we have made during the time that we have stopped. We emerge as the living word of that commitment, establishing a world that in every way is best for life, best for us, best for everyone. Isn't that what you would like to gift your children? Isn't that what is true honor? Isn't that what is truly love? Isn't that what is best for life? Isn't that honoring that which gave you life? Isn't that the image and likeness of the Creator? Isn't that, in fact, the only answer possible in every way? Equality as life is a practical physical process. Walk with us. Do not postpone. You know what your parents taught you as a child. There is always a consequence. You know from the experiences of your life, there is a consequence. You must realize that at death there is a consequence. The only way to change the outcome of this consequence is to create a new world and thus a new heaven, where you have lived in every place you find yourself, as that which is best for all life. No fear can ever exist again. You are in fact the creator of the fear. You are in fact the one that can stop it. You are in fact the one that can create a consequence, an outcome that is eternal life. In that way, proving that eternal life is possible. At the moment, only eternal consequence is possible, because you have created it. Will we walk through the consequences first? Obviously. Self-forgiveness will not remove the consequence. That is obvious common sense. But it will establish within us the power, the integrity, the responsibility, the ability to, in fact, establish a world that is best for all life. It will establish within us a pride in ourselves, where the word pride will no longer be ego, but it will be living words, life itself. It will establish peace. It will establish greatness. It will establish steadfastness, strength, magnificence, beauty. Every word that we have now will become a new word, a word of life, a living word. How can one dare to speak words when they are not in fact life and supporting life? How can one have missed the obviousness of the Jesus message? How have you become this? Find out with the process of self-forgiveness. Stop yourself and establish for yourself the opportunity to face the eye of the needle, to face those things that you believe you've needed for your existence, to establish within yourself the opportunity to in fact rebirth yourself. And everyone will walk through this in an equal time. It will take you a minimum of 7 years. That is important. It established the first phase of equality, the equality of the process, so that you can see who has done self-forgiveness, who have made a commitment to life, and thus you will know who to trust. You go and have a look. Where's that person's writings? when they claim self-forgiveness and they haven't done it in fact. You know you can't trust them. They are just trying to manipulate you, divide you, cause you to go back to fear so that they can have power. Therefore you have those that fear and you have those that create fear. That is always how a polarity play. Stop participating in those that create fear. There is no point to be their slaves. Join us. Destiny. Investigate. Equal money. Start your process of self-forgiveness. Commit yourself to life. And together we will create a new earth and a new heaven, in fact, not just in the illusion of the mind.